Let's move to the 18th century philologist William Jones. I want to get your take on this, where, he set on a global quest to seek some answers to the origin of language questions. He was the son of a mathematician. He was a polyglot, spoke Greek, Arabic, Latin, Persian, Hebrew, Chinese. And he also studied Sanskrit, and he found Sanskrit to be structurally elegant and even more perfect than Greek and more copious than Latin. And he was a big, found that the Sanskrit language had a complexity that he didn't find in other languages. And he also was one of the first to postulate the possibility of a Proto-Indo-European language. And later on, he would argue that if there were two languages that were sort of candidates for a proto-language, one was Sanskrit, the other one was Hebrew. And while many of his theories might seem peculiar today, I think the question is somewhat salient. And also, he was a critic of reductive forms of learning, educational approaches that stymied creativity, and elitist assumptions about learning. And ultimately, he expressed these stances politically in his fierce opposition to the British Empire. And I don't think it's a coincidence that his strong ethical stance and advocacy was intertwined with his universalist linguistic aspirations. I was wondering, I think your story parallels that story in some ways. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Well, William Jones was a pioneer, many interesting ideas, did important work. He did take ethical principles, but the conclusions from his linguistic work are basically can't be taken seriously today. Sanskrit is not anywhere near, it makes no sense to ask whether Sanskrit or Hebrew are the first language or more complex or refined than other languages. The Sanskrit is a language that developed a couple thousand years ago. A human language has been around for probably 200,000 years or something like that, in real historical linguistics, to which his work made a contribution in the early days, but it's gone way beyond that. First of all, this is a tiny sample of the world's languages. And as far as we can go with reconstructing languages, it's a few thousand years. That's very much the tail end of the use of language. There's no possible way to find the original language, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.